received better nutrition than humans. Dr. Wallach observed that nutrient-dense alfalfa pellets fed to livestock were a cost-effective gold standard practice for preventing infertility, birth defects, heart disease, arthritis, and other degenerative diseases. But he wondered, why is it common practice for livestock to get this nutrition, but not humans? As Dr. Wallach went to the University of Missouri to study agriculture and veterinary medicine, he was determined to solve this nutritional mystery. In organic chemistry class, Dr. Wallach had another breakthrough when he learned that minerals are needed for hundreds of life-sustaining reactions in the body. With his agricultural background, Dr. Wallach also knew that these same minerals are often lacking in the soil and in our diet. Dr. Wallach knew he was on to something significant. After receiving his Bachelor of Science in Agriculture in 1962 and his doctorate in veterinary medicine in 1964, he began chasing the answers that he knew would bring vibrant health and wellness to all living creatures on Earth. He studied nutritional deficiency diseases. He began working as a veterinary pathology assistant, conducting up to 25 animal autopsies daily. He investigated the mineral intake of the world's longest living cultures. He traveled to Africa to treat and save exotic animals and endangered species. In 1966, he was invited by Marlin Perkins to participate in a $7.5 million National Institutes of Health study on ecology, environment, pollution, and plant and animal health. The massive study became Dr. Wallach's focus for the next 12 years. Over time, Dr. Wallach performed thousands of animal autopsies across 454 species, including 3,000 humans. His work was included in 70 peer-reviewed journal articles and 15 textbook chapters. Dr. Wallach also began working on his own textbook, The Diseases of Exotic Animals, the Medical and Surgical Management, which is now recommended by the Smithsonian Institute as a foundation text for all zoos. Dr. Wallach's discoveries from this prolific time are still used today to reduce degenerative disease, improve fertility, and extend longevity for exotic animals and livestock. But most significantly, after thousands of animal and human autopsies, Dr. Wallach gained unprecedented insight on the inner workings of the Earth's inhabitants. What he discovered was a near universal trend. Across species, minerals were the currency of life itself. Soon after this revelation, Dr. Wallach identified the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis in a rhesus monkey. He named selenium deficiency as the cause, challenging the established belief that the disease was genetic in nature. Dr. Wallach's findings were met with resistance as the NIH and media alike tried to silence his discovery and discredit his qualifications, knowing that his discoveries could help millions of people if he had additional qualifications. At age 40, Dr. Wallach decided to become a naturopathic doctor. After receiving his MD, Dr. Wallach started a practice and began adapting his veterinary nutritional formulas for human use. These formulations, such as his liquid mineral toddy, worked so well that his patients told everyone they knew. Soon, his clinic was seeing 50 people daily. With his clinic's capacity maxed out, Dr. Wallach realized he needed a better system that would enable him to help more people. Information was the answer. By teaching others how to achieve and share vibrant health, he could remove all limitations and help millions of people. Dr. Wallach created an educational health seminar called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. The tape of his seminars resonated so powerfully with Americans that it sold over 150 million copies without the benefit of social media. With Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Dr. Wallach finally had a way to go directly to the public with his own information on nutrition, information he knew could dramatically improve their health. But Dr. Wallach's next breakthrough was the real game changer, enabling newly healthy people to achieve amazing quality of life, all by helping others.
In naturopathy, so I knew Doc and Doc knew me. But all I really knew about Dr. Wallach was he was a funny little short Republican guy from the Midwest who had a network marketing business, and I didn't want nothing to do with that because I was a doctor. Well, 19 years later, after the economy dropped, real estate dropped, and there was a recession here in the United States, my income dropped remarkably. And I was at a naturopathic medical conference like I do every year in order to maintain your license, and I was forlorn, and I did not know what to do. I did not know what I did not know. And I just registered for the conference, and I was sitting down on the bench, and I was forlorn, and I did not know what to do. I was kind of at the end of my rope. And Dr. Wallach comes bustling in to the reception area. He signs in, he walks over, he looks at me sitting on the step, and he says, "Glidden," he says, "it's always good to have multiple revenue streams." And he walked away. So guess what I did? I chased him. He said, "You have no idea what I do you?" I said, "Doc, I really don't." Well, as fate would have it, 2 weeks later, he was giving a lecture in Chicago where I lived, and he invited me to see it. And you know, 19 years before that, somebody had mailed me, like they did to everybody else in the country, a copy of Dead Doctors Don't Lie cassette tape, which I never listened to. The first time I ever heard Dr. Wallach speak was 2 weeks after
Get the guy.
a little town in southern Illinois. And Dr. Wallach delivered the most remarkable, heartfelt, spot-on, unbelievable expose on the problem with medicine in the United States and the fix. My head exploded. If I have a good year as a naturopathic physician, I can help 200, 250 people, and that's a good year. If I have a network marketing business with Youngevity, I can help tens and hundreds of thousands of people a year.
Because they're afraid of overdosing.
Yeah.
Now, when you exercise, you sweat. And sweat is not water. Sweat is a soup that contains all the nutrients floating around your blood. So if you're just replacing the oil you lose out of your car every week with a quart of water, how long is it going to take before that car's dead? About 3 weeks. Harvard Medical School, July 2002. New England Journal of Medicine, very reputable medical journal. This is a newspaper extract of it. Knee surgery for arthritis, worthless. I said that in my original audio cassette tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, in 1993. I've been saying it for 10 years before that. You can support remote maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone, makes your bone itself. And doctors say, well, we can't regrow cartilage, and so we're going to give you a knee replacement, hip replacement, back surgery. No, no, no. Healthy bone and joint pack. Give it 90 days. You'll never get the surgery. If the bone, if the healthy bone and joint pack fails, you can always go get the surgery, can't you? If you go do the surgery first, you can't always get uninfected, unsurgeryed, unparalyzed, and undead. Hoorah! Back surgery usually is unnecessary. 99% of the time, back surgery is unnecessary. Harvard Medical School, again, this time the Journal of the American Medical Association. Back surgery is unnecessary. Well, Dr. Glidden said it all when he said, when you're a carpenter, everything looks like a nail. When you make your living by doing joint replacements, what are you going to do when somebody comes to your office? Even if they have hemorrhoids, you're going to replace your knees. One hip replacement in America costs $78,000. Costs you $70,000. Most people don't know that because insurance pays for everything. They don't even they get the receipt in the mail, they just don't even open the envelope and throw it because they know insurance is to pay for it. And then they send your job to Guatemala because they don't have to pay for health care for their employees there. You getting a picture here? Now, you go to Belgium for the same operation, same skilled surgeon, same device. It's $13,660, and that includes round-trip airfare from New York to Belgium and back. It includes 5 nights and a $1,000 a night to 5-star resort hotel to recover from the surgery. For a 200-pound person for 3 months to support, promote, maintenance, repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone, matrix, bone itself, with the healthy bone and joint pack, costs $1,500. And the bone and joint pack will support every joint in your body. How many joints in your body does it support if they give you 1 hip replacement or 1 back surgery? 1! And that's not even a cure. Now, how many have ever heard of type 2 diabetes? Raise your hand. Okay, type 2 diabetes, we've known for 70 years as a single mineral deficiency disease. It's not genetic in any way, shape, or form, in any demographic, in any race, any gender, any age. Type 2 diabetes is a simple mineral deficiency. We've known it for 70 years. That's why the healthy blood sugar pack works. We just put the 90 plus a little bit of extra secret sauce in there, that mineral, and blood sugar starts dropping. You test your fasting blood sugar every morning after before you medicate yourself. Usually within a couple of days or a couple of weeks, blood sugar's down in the normal range. You don't need medication anymore. You tell that to people, say, "Well, I got to ask my doctor." Well, how long have you been going to your doctor? I've had diabetes for 20 years, and he's kept my blood sugar under control. Well, how come you don't have any legs? How come you're blind? Oh, he said those are normal side effects of diabetes, right? You're really under control, right? Type 2 diabetes by 52%. Alzheimer's disease by 100%. We'll talk about Alzheimer's disease in a minute. If you're on statin drugs, get off of them. There's not a single disease that's caused by elevated blood cholesterol. Now, briefly, this is Jerry Murphy and his wife, Sandy, from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. And he had terrible diabetes, and what made that interesting, he owns, I think, the 3rd largest medical laboratory in America. Does laboratory work for thousands of hospitals and private practices, medical doctors. And he knows the top endocrinologist. He's got his finger on the pulse of all the research and the newest drugs for type 2 diabetes. And he was failing. I mean, his diabetes was getting worse and worse and worse. And so Rich Stock said, let's talk to Jerry Murphy. So we talked to him at 4 o'clock in the morning in the back of a mom and pop restaurant. Lights out. I said, why are we here? Is there plastic on the floor? Now, some of you got that. I'm not a union boss. Get rid of my type 2 diabetes in 90 days, like Rich says, we'll be best friends. We'll do a lot of things together. If you can't, I will destroy you. So we agreed on, the goal was the normals for blood sugar, for A1C, hemoglobin, blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. The goals would be the ones that are in the Merck manual. Every medical student, every dentist, every veterinarian, every nurse, every doctor that's practicing has the Merck manual. So we agreed on those numbers. The normals for fasting blood sugar they had was 74 to 106, and for the fasting, the A1C hemoglobin was 4.2 to 5.8. So we got him on the program, and this was his starting numbers. The numbers he started with before he started the supplement program. Here's where he started. Now, these were not his regular numbers. His regular numbers were his blood sugar was over 200, but it was 171 because he gave up eating some meals, he doubled his medication, he took all the wiggle room, and, he didn't want me to get any easy stuff. Right? 171 blood sugar and 7.3 A1C hemoglobin. Well, 2 months later, here he does it, his blood sugar drops to 143. His A1C hemoglobin drops to 6.5. He wasn't expecting it to drop at all, but it dropped, and so he got a little nervous. And so instead of waiting that 3rd month, in 2 weeks' time he redid it, and the fasting blood sugar was 104. Oh, that's well below 106, and it was 5.8. Perfect. I'm not destroyed. I believe my human patients are dumber than a cow. Scientific American, February 1999, a report came out. They had gone to Nigeria to find one black fellow, one tribal guy living up in the mountains who had normal genes for blood pressure. They're going to make a vaccination for it, come back to the United States and inject and vaccinate every black man, woman, and child in the United States to get rid of high blood pressure. They were screening these people, and they found that only 7% of these tribal blacks up in the mountains of Nigeria had high blood pressure. Only 7%, 93% were normal. Somebody got a text message.
Uh-oh.
Now, they couldn't believe it. So they went to Oxford University in London, they went to Loyola University in Chicago, and they did a whole bunch of DNA screening in the black community looking for people whose ancestors had arrived in the United States during the slave trading days, the 1600s and 1700s, the early 1800s. And they found a large group, and they did just simple blood pressures, and they found that 33% of people with that demographic had high blood pressure. They knew immediately it wasn't genetic, but there's a 5 times difference there. Just because of position on Earth, it's not genetic. If it was genetic, it'd be the same no matter if you're on the moon or down here, right? So it's not genetic. Well, they didn't want to believe that. They did not want to believe that. They did a 6-year study, got the best geneticist, got the best cardiologist, the best hematologist, and they published it in the British Medical Journal 6 years later, in January of 2005. And here's what they said. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats, because this was the title of the article in the British Medical Journal, which is their equivalent of the Journal of the American Medical Association. They said, high blood pressure in blacks, not genetic. Hooah! Is a failure, as I've told you before, because the medical system has it all wrong. The government has it all wrong. They want you to believe that obesity is caused by a deficiency of exercise, not enough exercise, eating too much. And following their advice, this is what happened. What happened here? People started eating whole grains, really like crazy, because they made a big push on it. Get everybody to eat whole grains and give up fat and eat whole grains, complex carbohydrates. How'd that work for you? You can see what happened. It went up 100%. It doubled in just 20 years. Obesity doubled in 20 years following their advice. When do you get ticked off?
What?
I see a lot of people who are 400 pounds, 600 pounds, 800 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And they have a deficiency of a single nutrient.
A single nutrient.
I want you to read chapters 4, 5, and 6 in the book Rare Earths and Cures. I want you to look up phosphorus and iron in chapter 11 of the book Rare Earths and Cures. I want you to read Hell's Kitchen. Rosalie Bradford, to make a long story short, she had 2 Guinness World Book of Records. Number 1, she was the heaviest woman ever weighed by the Guinness World Book of Records. Let's see here. She weighed, I want to get it right. Oh, 1,050 pounds.
How did she not die?
Wow.
She had a gastric bypass, and she dropped down to 314 pounds, and then she died. That didn't work very well, did it? Obesity is a simple deficiency of these minerals. And that's why when you get on the Healthy Start Pack, that alone will help you lose a half a pound every couple of weeks. You just start losing because your appetite goes away when you supplement with minerals, because it's a mineral deficiency disease. You don't have to work real hard and start losing a half a pound a week. And throw in an accelerator called ASAP, you'll lose a half a pound to 2 pounds a day. How many of you here had lost weight on the ASAP and the 97 nutrients? Raise your hand. Would you look at that? Whoa! here's Hell's Kitchen. Different dementias. There's 5 different dementias. One of the simplest ones is a B12 deficiency. Well, how can you have a B12 deficiency? Well, it's a big clumsy molecule, and if you have gluten intolerance, you can't absorb it. You don't just malabsorb one nutrient when you have gluten intolerance. You might malabsorb 60, 70, 20, 30, 40. You have multiples of problems when you have gluten intolerance. You're not absorbing. And then there's a vascular dementia. Well, there's nothing wrong with your brain, but you have artery disease in your brain just like you have artery disease in your heart, or your kidneys, or your lungs, or your eyes. So what causes artery disease in your brain? The same thing that causes artery disease in your eyes, and your heart, and your kidneys. It's called inflammation, free radicals, trans fatty acids, heterocyclamines, and acrylamides from fried foods, processed meats with nitrates and nitrites, oils, even extra virgin olive oil and coconut oil, and gluten. Why is there a tidal wave feared for Alzheimer's disease? Well, what is Alzheimer's disease? Well, Alzheimer's disease is a going away of the white matter of the brain, called myelin. It's the insulation material of the brain. It makes up 75% of your brain weight, myelin does. And when it goes away, the naked nerve fibers short circuit and you get Alzheimer's disease. Now, there's a lot of holes there because it makes up 75% of your brain weight. When 75% of your brain weight goes away, there's a lot of holes, and it fills up with a protein called amyloid. And what are doctors looking at to find the answer for Alzheimer's disease? Amyloid plaques. That's like sifting through the ashes in the woods after a forest fire and saying, we've got it! Forest fires are caused by ashes. Because every time there's a forest fire, there's always ashes. That's it! That's how dumb they are. Hooah! So why is there a tidal wave feared? Well, that's because baby boomers are now turning 65, and they listen to doctors. Let's see, they ate egg beaters instead of eggs. They ate boneless, skinless chicken breasts. How do you grow chickens without skin? I don't know. And then they made you use margarine and oils instead of butter, cream, and lard. Uh-oh. And then they made you eat tofu and beans instead of meat. Uh-oh. We have a problem here. And and it gets worse. They made you take statin drugs to lower your cholesterol. Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease. It didn't exist 43 years ago, even by another name. It's a physician-caused disease. Somebody needs to go to jail. Alzheimer's is on this upward trajectory, but despite all their greatest efforts, we know it's going to be bad because every nursing home and every hospice in America is now owned by a medical doctor. You eat 6 to 10 eggs a day, you take your 90 essential nutrients, stay away from the bad stuff, the Alzheimer's curve will look like that. But following their advice, this is what you got. Einstein said many wonderful things which have been unimpeachable over the years. My favorite is, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Does that sound like they've got their arms around this thing? Okay, I read this title in my original 1993 Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Vitamin E can ease memory loss and Alzheimer's disease. I said, which means it cannot be genetic. This is epigenetics. Right? Doctors went crazy when that tape came out. That was 1992. Well, in 2012, vitamin E may ease the Alzheimer's effects. Well, he repeated the 1998 one. Now, why did Hispanics develop Alzheimer's disease years earlier? Papas Fritos. Pollo fritos. Pollo fritos. Pan fritos. Agua fritos. This is it. This is the close. Okay, we're getting texting. Are you alive? Are you still there? Can I remind you about this? We're signing the books. We'll be doing pictures and all that kind of stuff at that table in the store, YGY store. Okay? Hooah! For life. How long do you need oxygen? For life. How long do you need the 90 essential nutrients? For life. Hooah! I think this army's ready. Okay. 90 essential nutrients. They're called essential nutrients for two reasons. Number one, we cannot make them. We must consume them every day, either as food or as supplements. Number two, if they're missing for any length of time, you get horrible diseases, all of which are fatal. Some of them, if you're totally deficient in potassium, you're dead in 4 seconds because your heart stops. If you're seriously deficient in calcium, it'll take 25 to 40 years to kill you, but it'll kill you. Okay, but they all kill you because they're essential nutrients if you're missing them. We need 16 minerals. Minerals are important because they make up 2/3 of the 90 essential nutrients. We need 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. And our food plants, our grains, vegetables, fruits, and nuts can take carbon dioxide out of the air, use the sun's energy in a process known as photosynthesis, using the chlorophyll in the green leaves of the plants to whack off that O2 and the CO2, pump that out in the atmosphere where we can breathe it, take the carbon, make chains to make carbon chain chemicals, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, and essential vitamins. Plants cannot manufacture minerals. Plants only need 3 minerals to make good seeds for the next generation. We need 60. So you can eat a pretty good slice of organically grown multigrain bread that's baked with love in the church by the pastor's wife on Sunday after he gives his very best sermon. You're 57 minerals short. That's why there are no pastors that live to be 120. I don't care how good they are at preaching. If they're not getting the basic 90 essential nutrients, bam! God must have wanted them. This is the one that brings tears to my eyes, ladies and gentlemen. This is an article that came from Food Chemistry. It's a very boring scientific journal, but it's a very, very important scientific journal in that they look at the nutritional value and the pollution load of our foods. They bring in foods every month from various counties around the United States, and they test them and they publish this result. On the top of the page is carrots, and they tell you what counties they looked at, and they tell you the pollution load and the nutrition. Well, April 16, 2012, they published an article where they looked at the nutritional value and the pollutant load in baby formulas. Enfamil, Similac, Gerber's, those kind of things we're all familiar with, right? Very well-respected baby foods.
Oh,
they said, commercially available baby foods may contain less than 20% of the required minerals and vitamins. Baby foods contain less than 20% of the required minerals and vitamins. Dog food has 100%, chicken food has 100%, laboratory rat food, and hamster food, and guinea pig food, and rabbit food have 100%, and your babies and grandbabies have less than 20%. Why is that? Because the pediatricians who made those formulas have no training in nutrition. As close to they got to any nutritional training was reading Playboy in the bathroom at the medical school. So, somebody needs to go to jail. And so we parents and grandparents have to pick up the slack and make... People always ask me, well, when can I start giving these babies vitamins and minerals? Before they're conceived, all through the pregnancy they're developing, from the moment... just their ears and their mouth is born, before the rest of their body's born, you start dripping this stuff in their mouth. And we spent over $100 billion in perfecting dog food. $100 billion. What do we get for that? Well, in dogs, we tripled their lifespan. 60 years ago, an old dog was 8 years old. Now, today, an old dog is 25. We eliminated 900 different diseases that plague humans, still plague humans, including birth defects. Every one you can name, and 10 times that many you can't. We didn't do that with organ transplants, and genetically modified proteins, or amino acids, or stuff like that, or wonder drugs. We did it just simply by putting vitamins and minerals in their food. It's just that simple. I always find it funny that people living under the bridge live longer than Steve Jobs. You say, those poor people living under the bridge live on dog food. Now you get the picture. Because you can spend $1,000 a meal for the very best food. I'm eating well. Why has Frank died at 62? I mean, he ate well. This is the cover picture in the weekend magazine, the Sunday magazine, in the Globe and Mail, which is kind of like the USA Today newspaper in Canada. I love this thing. It's a great cover. They said, are you going to live on pills or real produce? Well, I eat very well. I eat very well. For lunch today, I had steak and a wonderful arugula salad with some melon and beets and oranges. And I had all my supplements. I had my liquid minerals and Osseo and cherry mints and a little bit of Rebound, all in one liquid thing. And I took 75 tablets, pills, and capsules. You know, I do that twice a day. I do that twice a day. And so, I do both. Can you tell me how many milligrams of calcium there is in a 1-inch wedge of that apple? No. Now we'll have $2,500 analyses. Can you tell me how many micrograms of selenium is in 1-inch wedge of that apple? No. Can you tell me how much folic acid, how many micrograms of folic acid is in that yellow bell pepper? No. What about how many international units of vitamin A or vitamin E is in that tomato? You can't tell me. So if you eat well and then hedge your bet by taking everything in optimal amounts, not minimum daily requirements, but optimal amounts, would you want to be somebody to take minimum requirements if you have gluten intolerance? It's like scratching your fingernails on a blackboard, right? That's awful. You do not want to do that. But most people do. Now, how did rich people get their mineral supplements 4,000 or 5,000 years ago? They ate mummy dust. Now, grave robbers made more money from mummies than they did from all the jewelry and stuff like that from their tomb. They'd sell off that stuff, but they kept the mummy. That's why there's no bodies in some of these tombs, because they kept the mummies. Now, how many of you have heard that theme, like treats like? They use it in homeopathy, they use it in herbs. For instance, if you're anemic, an herbalist would take blood root and make you take that to help build up your blood. They might make you eat beets to build up your blood because it's red. If you have a liver problem, they have you have dandelion root because it's yellow. Okay, so like treats like. That's how they would figure it. So let's say you're a noble person or a wealthy businessman. You go to the shaman or the physician or philosopher and you say, man, I got this terrible pain in my right hip, and he feels around and he says, well, you got arthritis in that right hip. So the wealthy guy goes to the grave robber and he says, because everybody knew who they were, it's kind of like, you know, guys who made whiskey in the old days. Everybody knew who they were, right? So they go to these grave robbers and they say, I got bad arthritis in my right hip. So they cut the right hip out of that mummy, they grind it up and give it to him, and in 4, 5, 6 weeks he cures arthritis. Now, why would that happen? Well, how many of you heard of glucosamine sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, collagen, hyaluronic acid? That's all the stuff that's in our products that can support, promote, maintenance, repair, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, and so on. Well, that stuff occurs in your bones too. So eating a human joint, you're going to get the same stuff you get from eating a chicken bone joint. You get the picture here? But only wealthy people could afford that. So what did the average slave do? What did the average poor farmer do for their mineral supplements? They would put wood ashes into their gardens. Now, wood ashes are not ashes. They're really the minerals, plant minerals. They have left over when you burn the fuel, the wood, the carbon. You throw them in the garden, and the sweet potatoes and the onions and the tomatoes and corn and beans and peas and pumpkins and peppers and whatever you're growing out there will suck up these nutrients. You ate that plant and you got your minerals recycled through the plant minerals, aka wood ashes, through the plant, and you would eat that, and you get your minerals in that fashion. That remained the same for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882. We know the exact compost pile. That's Blake there. I don't know, is that Naive? I don't know who that is. Okay, I think it's Naive. But anyway, there's 100 cubic miles of this stuff. Blake and Naive are standing on this road, which is 3,000 feet elevation above sea level. This cap of limestone, we know it's marine limestone because it has ocean, marine, animal, and plant fossils in it. 25 feet covering this. Pristine, there's not a single bit of pollution in here, but it's way too high for the underground aquifers to contaminate. It's covered. It's been under the ocean for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And it has 77 minerals in it, including all 60 essential minerals in optimal amounts. Hooah! So why do you wait until you're sick, near death, and go to a doctor? Why don't each and every one of you be like me? Now, in June, using the Chinese method, I'm going to be turning 75. Hoorah! Using the English method, I'll be 74. The Chinese start your age, they start the age clock when you're conceived. That's why. Now, I have not been to a doctor, with me being the patient, for 68 years. I have never been on a prescription drug.
Wow.
My blood pressure is 90/60, taken by a PA for insurance purposes, right? And my pulse, my resting pulse is a little high, and it normally runs 38, but they were in there, I was a little nervous, so I got up to 43. And I had to sign an affidavit. One of these PAs was actually a notary. I had to sign an affidavit saying I wasn't taking medication because they couldn't believe that a 74-year-old guy, or 75 if you're Chinese, wasn't on 24 prescription drugs and didn't have 10 diseases. They said, well, you got to be on a drug. Why? Tell me why. Whoa! We wanted to make it very simple, so we came up with 4 basic programs that cover about 85 to 90% of what you're going to see. These are very simple, that anybody who can't even read knows what to do. Healthy blood sugar pack, what would you use that for? Very good. You know more than doctors. That's scary. Not the fact that you know it, but the fact that they don't know it. Now, what would you use a healthy bone and joint pack for? Yeah, arthritis, osteopenia, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, degenerative arthritis, bone-to-bone arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, degenerative disc disease, bone spurs, kidney stones, periodontal disease, which is osteoporosis of the face, anything to do with bones and connective tissue and joints, tendonitis, plantar fasciitis. Any of these things that have anything to do with connective tissue, you use a healthy bone and joint pack. What would you use a healthy digestion pack for? Digestive problems. Now here's a hard one. What would you use a healthy brain and heart pack for? I mean, I think you got the drift here now. Then, of course, we have some extra secret sauces. Like we have extra selenium, and this is where the books and the CDs and the DVDs are going to help you. And I love you, ladies and gentlemen, because you have chosen to be part of this great army. And we can save America! God bless you! Hooray!
Well, it's probably because she doesn't have enough of the raw materials that her body needs in order to have a healthy, regular hormonal cycle. And number one, the human body needs 90 essential nutrients every day, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 essential fatty acids for a grand total of 90 essential nutrients that have to go down the hatch every day. You must swallow 90 essential nutrients every day appropriate for your body weight. The problem in this scenario is that those essential nutrients are not in the food. They're just not. They're not there. So you could have the best flippin' diet in the world, and you would still be undernutrified.
And into the bargain, if unwittingly, because you're listening to General Mills and Monsanto tell you what to eat, you're eating all of the bad food all of the time just because that's what everybody does. Every single solitary time you eat wheat, barley, rye, oats, oil in a bottle, or whatever, it whittles away at your health. It's like putting diesel fuel in an unleaded engine.